Tonight, more Alabama hospitals and clinics have halted IVF.
The state's biggest hospital says it is putting all IVF treatments on hold.
The emotional toll that infertility takes on people is something that's indescribable. We see couples who have good prognosis to become pregnant and they drop out. The number one reason is because they lack financial help. They're not insured in most of the states, and they have to take out loans. Some of them mortgage their homes in order to pay for treatment.
After realizing what's going on, we felt that we cannot sit idle and we have to get involved.
And so when Tzedek came to me, when your leaders came to me and said, can we work together to build the kind of coalitions necessary to make our healthcare system actually work for families that have the greatest dream to be fruitful and multiply, I was so excited to join in partnership here. We together can actually get legislation passed so that private insurance companies will cover the medical costs necessary so that everyone can have access to fertility treatment.
So first, we thought we'll get Republicans to join Cory Booker's bill, but then after conversations with some Rabbanim, they told us they would like to see a different language. We started to work all over on a new language. We hired an attorney and we started to draft a bill. Not a bill what is just a messaging bill. We wanted a bill that can actually help those couples.
I'm honored to be introducing legislation very, very soon that requires insurance companies to cover infertility treatments.
So thank you for the difference you make on welcoming children and helping more men, more women have the joy of being a dad, of being a mom.
We need more babies, we need more families, we need more life in the United States of America, and I'm so proud of what all of you stand for.
We were so excited, finally after a year investing millions of dollars and working around the clock, we can show them the fruit of our labor.
We've got the law written now, so we can fast track it and get it signed into law.
We have made this thing ready to rock. It's not going to need any tinkering when we introduce in just a few short weeks.
That they have brought us to the precipice of finally introducing this bill, and I'm telling you tonight, we will get this work done and introduce this bill.
And all of a sudden, out of the blue, Alabama.
A decision from the Alabama Supreme Court has alarmed doctors, patients, and reproductive rights advocates. On Friday, the court ruled that frozen embryos created through in vitro fertilization, or IVF, are legally children and thus protected.
The Alabama Supreme Court decision was based on a number of Alabama families who had successfully undergone IVF treatment, but who, through the process, there was unused embryos, which were then frozen by the fertility clinic, as is usual practice. However, a worker at that clinic had accidentally destroyed some of those embryos, and the families sued the fertility clinic using the death of a minor. When the Alabama Supreme Court ruled in favor of those families, they were essentially defining embryos as people. That decision had a profound impact on the IVF issue and really scrambled the politics of the issue in a very significant way.
Now, when Alabama's Supreme Court defined frozen embryos as children last week, the shock and confusion was immediate. Many fertility clinics have paused treatments over fears they could be prosecuted.
Tonight, more Alabama hospitals and clinics have halted IVF, even with women, families in the middle of treatments.
And from that moment in time, everything broke down.
The timing caught us off guard and the decision caught us off guard.
It became a national issue, and all of these groups on the right flank who are against abortion commingled this issue and put it together and presented IVF as anti-life.
They were saying this is a Holocaust, we are freezing people.
You had the Susan B. Anthony Foundation, you had the Heritage Foundation, basically overtly threatening Republican members of Congress.
And they are multi-million-dollar organizations with millions of dollars of budget to be able to spend on advertisements and on attacking IVF as a procedure.
If you support our bill, we're going to support a primary opponent for you. We're going to get you, out of office. Bad things are going to happen. You're not going to get our support anymore. And it really spooked a lot of congressional representatives who really had been on our side prior to this. And it also spooked a bunch of senators who had been on our side. We had sponsors back away from being sponsors. We had people who weren't going to sponsor the bill, but were going to sign the bill, now questioning whether they should sign the bill or not. And it took a Herculean effort, and it really became kind of a David versus Goliath fight.
Officers worked over a year with them. Every day, they wanted to do this bill. All of a sudden, they went silent till we realized we lost everyone. And this is so important to Klal Yisrael, this is so important to the couples, and we're not going anywhere. Tzedek does not take no for an answer.
Nobody would have thought that we'd be able to compete with the Susan B. Anthony Foundation. Nobody would have thought we'd be able to compete with the Heritage Foundation. And yet, we did.
The solution that we came up with is that we needed to rebrand. The leaders at Tzedek came up with a great idea to start Americans for IVF and start a whole new organization with new research to try to get back on track to where we were pre-Alabama.
Once we started Americans for IVF, there was a lot we had to do to get it up and running in a very short amount of time because these other groups already had all this done. So we had to start a website. We had to get email lists and start educating people about the issue of IVF. We had to hire 2 different PR companies to help us promote IVF and promote the organization so that we could grow our influence. Americans for IVF commissioned polls in a bunch of swing states, plus a national poll, so that they could make the argument to lawmakers that IVF was a winning issue.
So polling is quite expensive to complete, but it was absolutely necessary for this mission.
They engaged us at Coefficient. We did a number of extensive studies, very broad support for IVF in general. Around 90% of all Americans support IVF, and also very strong support for the policy positions within the HOPE Act.
And we were able to present these results to key members within the Republican Party and the Trump campaign to show them this is a vital issue. It's in your interest to support this because guess what? It has broad support and among the key supporters that you need to swing the votes your way.
After we did all the pollings, we came back to Congress and we were shopping, trying to find new co-sponsors after everything what we have been working before was gone. So thanks to Senator Cruz, a good friend of Tzedek, he went out and took in the arrows and he sponsored a bill joined by Senator Britt.
I'm proud to rise once again to speak on an issue that is personal and vital to millions of American families, the protection of in vitro fertilization. This technology enabling people to be parents is wonderful technology and it is pro-family. So there are issues on which we disagree, but this is one where we can find common ground, I very much hope.
After Senator Cruz introduced his bill together with Senator Britt, thanks God we were able to find new co-sponsors to lead our bill in the House, and the bill was dropped.
So Tzedek started working with Avalier, who are experts at healthcare policy, to figure out how much this bill was going to cost and how much it was going to send premiums up.
In this particular case with the rabbis at Tzedek, they were clever enough to understand that nobody's going to approve a bill or pass some legislation that they think is going to cost a fortune.
And so Avalier took the bill, did months of analysis, very, very, very hard work, and they were able to come up with an estimate of how much this bill was going to cost.
At the end of the day, after we uncovered all the facts and all the figures, it was established that the cost would be 58 cents per member per month So we were very pleased with the result.
At the same time, the Republicans were preparing for their convention and drafting language for their platform.
And Americans for IVF got to work on working over the platform committee. We knew how important it was for there to be a positive statement in that policy.
The RNC platform was originally, I think, around 90 pages or so, and it was cut down and reduced to about 10 or 11 pages.
And we fought tooth and nail, and we were successful in being able to get our one sentence included in the Republican National Platform.
And our hard work paid off when Donald Trump decided to get so involved in this issue and be so public about this issue that it actually turned us back from the Alabama obstacle to having so much momentum in getting this done.
I'm announcing today in a major statement that under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, fertilization for women, IVF treatment.
There's never been a major party nominee for president in this country who's made a statement like that.
And Tzedek saw a dramatic increase in co-sponsors after Trump's announcement. And they were able to get 20 Republicans to co-sponsor it, which is a huge, and I really want to put an emphasis on this, huge accomplishment.
To have mobilized this effort in the way that they did and to have achieved the success to date really is commendable, and I think they're in a perfect position to really see the mission to completion.
Our hard work over the past year or so, developing over 32 legislative co-sponsors to this important piece of legislation, is only going to continue to drive our efforts.
We have a new administration coming in that supports this exact thing. And I think we've got a great chance at passing this bill in the House and the Senate and getting it signed into law.
People know Tzedek because Tzedek got results. They're known on Capitol Hill as the guys that started this.
I think it's important for the community to understand that the Tzedek Association has really been a very good steward of the resources that it's been afforded by supporters of this IVF issue. They were fair, they were open, they were direct, but they were also cautious about marshaling those resources in the most effective way possible. And I think the people who support this issue and support their work on IVF or on other issues should feel good that the rabbis that are marshaling these resources are thoughtful about how they are spending that money and making sure that they have some real results to show as a result of it.
I think one of the true legacies of Tzedek is how many babies will be born that wouldn't have been born but for its efforts. And that's the gift that Tzedek has given, not just to this generation, but to many generations to come.
We need to keep doing this work. And the way we keep doing that is by showing up every day. And that takes resources. It does. It takes hiring the PR firms, hiring the lobbyists. It takes doing advertisements. It takes meeting with lawmakers, and it takes donating to lawmakers, all to get this good work done.
There's a unique window of opportunity open to us right now, and we just need to do the work necessary to get through that window and bring this home.
We won the battle, but we didn't win the war yet. But together with your help and Yirtz Hashem, we can bring this to the finish line and bring light to those families who are desperately waiting to hold a child in their hands. We can see success again, as we saw by the First Step Act and so many other efforts. So with your help and Yirtz Hashem, we can make this happen. Thank you, and Tezkol HaMitzvos.